People that are good with money are not necessarily lucky. There are certain principles and beliefs that they hold that have helped them build wealth over time. When combined, these things can make all the difference. Let's talk about them. People that are good with handling their money, firstly, are masters of deferred gratification. They are not susceptible to a commercial that they see on TV or on the internet and immediately click buy. They are able to pause, think about it, decide if it adds value to their life, if it's worth the purchase. How much time did they give up working to be able to buy said item? So when I think back to my early 20s, a lot of my friends went out and started buying cars, motorcycles, things like that when they got their first good job. I didn't. I realized that even though I could get approved for the loan, that did not mean that I could afford the loan. So I was the only one in the friend group that didn't get one of these. You need the ability to remove emotion from the equation when you're making these decisions. Deep down, you probably know if it's a good time to make a big purchase or not, if you can afford it or not. Make sure you're listening to your gut and don't make quick decisions. There's certain things that you can do to help facilitate this mind shift, right? Try a 30-day no spend challenge. I'm in the middle of one of those myself. If you've got your eye on an item that you want to purchase, you can write it down and come back to it in 30 days. Do you still want it? There's a good chance you don't. So again, just make sure that you're thinking about these things before you dive in and make a knee-jerk decision that might set you back financially for a long time. The next one is they know that long-term steady investing in things like index funds are the way to build wealth. People that are good with their money are not chasing these unrealistic investments. Things like a new crypto coin that somebody thinks for one reason or another is going to 10x, or trying to day trade and pick stocks, or options trading. If you go and look online on Reddit, for example, into like the early retirement communities, you are going to find a common trend. And that trend is, again, that they are not investing or putting their money into these speculative things. They're buying index funds that have been proven over time, over and over and over again. It's interesting because these are people with verifiable, legitimate wealth. They post their stats, they post screenshots. The information is there. They are literally showing you what they're invested in with a proven track record. They have accumulated wealth, not by using options or day trading, but by long-term steady investing. And for some reason, this just continues to be ignored. Everybody's looking for the hot pick that's going to get them out of the mess that they're in. And unfortunately, gang, I just don't think it's coming. This is what's worked for me. I've bought index funds for years and years and years, over and over and over again. I've let them compound over time. So the whole purpose of buying mutual funds or stocks is that you are buying a piece of a business, and that piece of a business is now working for you. You're part owner, right? The people that are good with their money know that these are buy and hold investments. They buy these slivers of ownership, and over time they add up and they compound. You have to ask yourself, if you've acquired a piece of a business, which is exactly what you're doing when you buy stocks or mutual funds, ETFs, things like that, whose goal again is to make more money for its owners, why would you sell that? And you shouldn't. The next one is critical, and that is the ability to remove emotion from your decision making. These people that have money, they see all the same news articles and headlines and people online talking about certain strategies, et cetera, but they are able to remove the emotional part. Oh my gosh, am I missing out? Oh my gosh, I want to hit the next home run. Oh my gosh, what if this person's right and I'm wrong? People with money know that that is noise. Fund managers consistently underperform the market as a whole. So as an individual investor, you really have to ask yourself if you're able to beat the market. And the unfortunate truth is that 85 or 90% of the time, you will not be able to do that. In fact, for regular Joes like us, it's probably never going to happen, right? Or very rarely. The longer the time that you measure, the less likely it is that you are going to be able to outperform the market. People with money understand that indexing over time and acquiring these small slivers of business ownership are going to accumulate over and over and over again and build them wealth. People with money also know that they need to show up every time. And what I mean by this is every time they get paid on Friday, they are setting aside money for themselves. They are making positive decisions for their financial future every single time. You have to be committed to the plan. If you're in and out, or if you don't believe that you can really impact it, there's no way that you're ever going to stick to it. These people know that if you only show up half the time, you're not even going to get a half correct result. You have to be in every single time and be consistent with your decisions and your follow through on a long-term plan. The next thing they know is that they need to stick with a long-term plan, even when it's really hard. There's going to be times when the market isn't going the way that you want. You're going to be losing money. This is just a part of investing. People that have money understand that this is a temporary setback, and over time, things will improve. You can't let down days shape your decisions in your investing. You can't let the fear or anxiety of losing money in the short term prevent you from investing over the long term. This is a long game. People that have money understand that there's ups and downs, and they stick to the plan either way. In fact, when the market's down, that's the most opportune time to make money, right? If you are convinced, which I think you should be, that over time, the economy and the country will grow, any temporary loss is just that. It's just temporary. It's going to turn around. You should be buying more when indexes are down. Friday was a perfect example. The NASDAQ, I think, lost close to 3%. Tons of people online panicking and worried, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? The last thing that you should be doing is going in and out of the market, trying to figure out when the right time is, because you're never going to know. There's no crystal ball, and these people know that too. Don't care about the noise. You have to ignore it and stick to the plan. This one I think is really important. They understand what opportunity cost is. Opportunity cost is what you give up when you make a decision. An easy example would be, oh man, the new Nintendo Switch 2 just came out. I want that. Well, that's $500 plus a couple of games. Before you know it, you're probably into it for $700. They understand that they have given up the opportunity to take that $700 and invest it in exchange to get a new Nintendo Switch. Decisions like these that are going to compound over time, and $700 is a lot. You need to look at your smaller purchases too. They're just as important. They add up. You nickel and dime yourself to death. So just make sure that you're being very intentional with where your money is going. Another example of opportunity cost that anyone with money will be able to relate to is that they understand the difference between borrowing and investing. So if you look at the S&P 500, it's returned about 14% over the last handful of years. These people understand that if you choose not to invest and you're in debt, the opportunity cost is not only the 14% that you are missing from investing in something like the S&P 500, but it's also the debt that's working against you. So the gap isn't 14%. If you owe 20% on $20,000 worth of credit card debt, the difference is those two figures added together. It's the 14% that you could have earned if you didn't put the $20,000 on the credit card at 20%. So the gap isn't 14, it's 34. The gap here is unbelievably large. The difference between somebody that's in debt versus somebody that can use their money to earn, especially over time, is going to create a gap like you would not believe. Imagine if you were able to get a 34% return on your investments. Everybody would do this, right? If you can stay out of high interest debt and you can invest your money in an index fund, that is reality. This is not some hypothetical. It is exactly what's happening. You're paying 20 points, 30 points on your interest on your credit card, while you could be earning 10% or more on investments. To me, this is the easiest decision. This one's a big one. People with money know that action, even if you make a mistake, is better than doing nothing. You're never going to have the perfect time. You're never going to have the perfect amount of money or whatever it is you think you need to start your path to building wealth. So even if when you come out of the gate, you make kind of a bad bet, maybe you've read some other things online, you've heard some wild stories, and you made a bad investment decision, don't take that necessarily as a loss, right? Every time you try something, even if you lose or you make a mistake, you acquire information that can help shape a better decision the next time you try. Don't let it be a catalyst for you quitting and giving up. What you need to do is in your mind, set this information aside and say, hey, I tried to get result X and I got result Y. It didn't work. Essentially what you're doing here is you are ruling out possibilities that you thought may work. So now you've crossed something off of the list that you know won't work. So now you can pivot and try something else. I didn't really like corporate America, but some of the bigger places, that's exactly what they tell you to do. They tell you to fail hard and fast, meaning they want you to try something, and if it doesn't work or has an undesired result, you stop, you don't quit, and you immediately try again. So to reiterate, taking an L or making a mistake is nothing more than a learning experience. You can't let these things set you back to the point where you are going to quit or not apply yourself anymore. Again, people with money know that things aren't always going to go perfectly. They're going to take a loss every now and again, and it's their ability to get back up, take action again, quickly, that sets them apart from everybody else. I'm living proof that these thoughts and principles can change your life. I am 42 now. I was able to walk away from a 6-figure corporate job just a month or so ago without worry because I was able to plan and I invested in my future for a really long time. Please, you have to invest in yourself. You have to start as early as you can. Your future self is depending on you making good decisions today. Make a good decision for your future self. I hope you liked this video and I hope to see you again. Take care.